Okay. We have another guest we'd like to talk. Michael, right? Is that your last name? Michael?
Gregory.
Gregory. Okay. Full name, right? Michael Gregory. You got two. See, I've got two last names. You got two first names.
Well, and if you throw Ted in the middle, then it really gets complicated.
Yeah. So Michael Gregory, you can stand up here. He's gonna add some more stuff to the mix. Why don't you stand here? Because he's gonna tape us for a minute.
I'm putting that there because I know young men like candy. Is there anybody, young men-wise, who doesn't like candy?
Yeah.
So you're allergic to it. Okay, so outside of you, all the rest of you, as I talk for a few moments, if you have a question, and actually I'm going to let Brother Hill be the judge of the questions at the end. The three best questions from you, each of you give, so that way you're incentivized to ask good questions. Does that make sense? Yes.
How has scouting impacted your life so far?
This guy is sharp. I'm going to talk about that. So I'll move to that in just a moment. What's your question?
Well, my question is, did scouting help you in your job anyway?
Okay, now I'll answer that. Does that work? So there's two questions. Let me get started. Oh, you got another question here? So I'll make sure I address both of those.
Like, what was your favorite merit badge and the funnest?
Okay, and I'll answer that one as well.
Then I've got a question. Oh, no, let him ask the questions.
Okay. Maybe we better keep track of these so I make sure I answer all of them. Okay.
Like, how many merit badges did you get?
Okay. I'm not sure I can answer that, but we'll talk about that, okay? Because that's part of my scouting experience that I want to talk about, okay? That's a good question, though. Here and then to you.
Okay, can you explain what all these badges mean?
Yep, I can explain those more. Talk about that. That's good, yes.
Mine's related to that. It doesn't look like you have the eagle square knot. What would you give to go back and get eagle?
Okay, I'll answer that. Now, let's first start out with, you asked me, what did scouting teach me, right? That was your question. In essence. I'm rephrasing it in my words. How did you say it exactly?
I said, how has scouting impacted your life so far?
And as a young man, I was 11 years old and my parents divorced. And so my father wasn't around. And I had been involved in Cub Scouting up until that time, but I was in a small town in northern Utah, and scouting wasn't that big a deal. A lot of the things that we did a lot of sports, and we worked on the farms an awful lot. And scouting was kind of the sideline of activities. And as my parents divorced, I had to try to find some direction in my life. And so for 2 or 3 years, scouting became really pretty important to me. Because that's where my friends were, and that's really why I went. It wasn't because I was working on rank or advancement, but it's where my friends were, and it's where I felt safe. It was a safe place. And so the way that it impacted my life in a really profound way is it attached me to really good people who made an extreme difference in my life. Does that help answer that question? Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to go to your question, but you mentioned here that you didn't see the eagle knot. I'm not an Eagle Scout. At 13 years old, nor are you.
That's why I'm asking the question.
I kind of checked out of scouting. I was a Star Scout. I had everything done for my life except for one alternate merit badge. And I just decided I was done. Because sports kind of took over my life. And as a 16-year-old, we moved communities from a small city to another small city. And I actually had some friends who said, Mike, we think you're a pretty swell guy. We'll help you get your Eagle Scout if you're interested. Now that's the kind of people I hope that you're around in your troops that make a difference for you. But I opted not to. And now I've attended dozens of Eagle Scout presentations, an assembling of the Eagle Board. I've been a bishop. I've served in a stake presidency. And I can tell you, working with young men, that's one of my biggest regrets, is that I didn't complete a task that I should have, in hindsight. And if I could do it over again, I would do that. I live with that regret. I can't change that. You know, I see Brother Hill, he has his number. And I go, oh, isn't that great? You know, I know he's an Eagle Scout. Brother Ben Dixon, he has an Eagle Scout. Now, I recognize that. And those are important things. Because what it does say, and it's not the award itself that's important, it's the pathway that you're on, and the skills that you develop, and the things that you learn that you like, and the things that you learn that you really don't like, and the adult interaction. And then probably most importantly, you learn about yourself in a way that says, I'm a finisher, not a starter and a quitter. Does that help you? So, let's see, we've got a couple other questions. You wonder what all these knots are. Now, I don't want you to think I was a total deadbeat as a youth, but this one right here, if I'm not mistaken, is the church's On My Honor award that you earn as a youth. Okay? And so I did earn my On My Honor, but that, again, I don't have the Eagle Scout award, and I don't even have the Arrow of Light. Some of you have the Arrow of Light patch down here, but as you become an adult, you'll be able to wear an Arrow of Light patch that's a knot above your pocket. And that's a great thing, and I congratulate you. This one is the Adult On My Honor Award. So for the adult leaders, there's an Adult On My Honor Award that you ought to be working on. And you ought to, it doesn't take a lot of... Basically, my feeling is, as adults, if we show up and just kind of do the program, these kind of things just happen. Okay? This particular knot right here is the District Award of Merit. A few years ago, as I was serving as a unit commissioner. I was a state young men's president at the time, and I had some units that I was assigned to and assigned veteran program, and I spent a lot of time working hard with them, and I was nominated to receive that award and received that. These two, and I'll get them confused, and I've actually earned them as a unit commissioner, as a scoutmaster, and as a venture advisor. But one of them's like the Scouter's Key, and the other one's the award of
The training
award.
Scoutmaster
Things what
training.
called. And so one is one, one's the other. And I've earned those 3 different times, and actually I just earned it a 4th time, both of those on the district staff. I'm the district chairman. This is actually, I think I'm the only one in the whole district that this is a calling for me. I was called in by my state presidency and asked to serve as the district chairman. And then, of course, they go through the nominating process, which is another thing, but I was asked to serve it. So this is probably my most appreciated knot of all the ones I wear. And this is the Scoutmaster Award of Merit. And why this is so meaningful to me is because young men like you were grateful that I served them. And they nominated me for this award. And wrote a letter and sent in the paperwork and surprised me one day. So, the Scoutmaster Award of Merit. And then this one is a unit commissioner, can't remember exactly, but it had to do with when I was a unit commissioner. So, does that help what those are? Now, that's a few things. But let me go back to your original question, because I know you're here to say, what did scouting do for me? One of the things that I have been endeared to, even though I was never an Eagle Scout, I never earned a varsity letter, a Denali Award. You know, there was Explorers back then, and I'm not even sure I could tell you what the Explorer Awards were. Do you remember?
That was the Explorer. Yeah.
But do you remember what the awards may have been back then?
No.
I don't remember. But the thing that I do remember is I can raise my arm for the square, and I can say, a scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. And I know and I understand each of those points in scout law. And I've been able to incorporate them in my life. That's made a huge difference. I know Scout oath, that on my honor I'll do my best to do my duty to God and my country. And then on. I know that the slogan, do good turn daily, and the motto, be prepared. Those things have been a blessing in my life. And although I'm not an Eagle Scout, those things have made a big, big difference. Again, those relationships and friendships, and then knowing and understanding the law, the motto, the slogan, and the oath. And as an old man, because you can tell by my haircut, I still know those things. learned them as a young man, as an 11-year-old, long, long time ago. And they've become part of my life. Does that help you understand that? Now, there's some other questions, and I'm sorry that, again, I'm an old man, I forget. You had a question over here, Brother Ben Dixon. I know your dad. You're going, how did he know that? So what was your question? Did I answer it, or you had another question, if I'm not mistaken?
I forgot my question.
Merit badge. Well, how many merit badges did I earn?
Or mine was what was your favorite?
What was my favorite merit badge? Probably my favorite merit badge, and I don't do it anymore, was swimming. I love to swim. I remember doing that in life saving and completing those. In fact, me and the group that I was in when we finished up our life saving merit badge, and we did it in a small swimming pool, the swimming instructor said, why don't you guys do your mile swim tonight? We said, oh, okay, for that, we'll go do that. So we jumped in the pool, and we started going back and forth. And after about, I think it was, we had to do 86 lengths. Because it was a team pool. We're always in a turn. We all did our mile swim. And so those are things I really remember. So if that helps you, the water ones. Okay, there was another question. Did I get over here and then we'll come back to you?
I actually have a new question.
Okay, so did I answer your question that you had? Okay.
I asked, did scouting help you get your job, or has scouting impacted your job
Okay.
in any way?
Yeah, as I'm the treasurer, and I'll tell you what that means in a minute, for all the commercial companies of the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. I'm a CPA. I manage all of the financial resources of places like Beneficial Life, which is an insurance company, Bonneville International, which is KSL Radio, TV, FM 100, all those things, all the Deseret bookstores, all the Siegel bookstores. Those are all part of the things that I help take care of. And so going back to a scout is trustworthy and loyal and helpful, and those kinds of things, but particularly trustworthy, taking that particular point out of the scout law, that's been really important to me and has helped me in having a good job. So, great question. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, I have two questions. One, how many merit badges did you earn?
Okay, how many merit badges did I earn? I think that because I was one away from alive, I probably was in the lower teens, 10, 12 area. So, you know, not very far along the path, but enough to have my feet wet.
And what do you get from the mile swim? Like, I know there's an award.
It's a little round emblem like the merit badges, and it has, if I remember correctly, a seahorse on it. And it says mile swim around the outside of it. It's actually a pretty cool little award. And you can put it on your swimming suit. That's where it could be displayed, or you can put it even on your sash. So, there, you got a picture of it. Does it say mile swim and a little seahorse, right?
Yep, still got the seahorse.
Okay, there we go. I still remember. I probably have it at home somewhere. You know, but I feel really bad because I look at what Brother Hill, you know, he can dig all this stuff out. I know I don't have my old scout shirt. I may be able to find that. I think it's in the cedar chest, but I'm not really sure. And my family, we didn't keep Book of Remembrances. I have a baby book that has a few things in it. So I wasn't good. So those are things, frankly, if you want to say, wow, what should I be thinking about doing today? Here's some really good ideas that you can accumulate and have that Brother Hill has that will be to your benefit. Okay.
Through all the time that you've been scouting, has God played a role?
That's a great question, and absolutely yes. I was always in an LDS-sponsored unit. I was a returned missionary, and I told you some of the other things. But scouting is about God. Tonight I'm going to be talking to the chartered organization reps, which generally are either the first or second counselors in your bishoprics. And we're going to be talking about duty to God tonight. And that sometimes we just kind of, we don't do as much of that as we ought to. That's my perception. And that had a huge impact in my life. Let me tell you an experience I had just a few years ago when I was a venture leader. I was with a group of young men, and these were young men that now, all but one of them served a mission. I wished he had. He wasn't worthy enough. He just decided he couldn't, for whatever reason. I know the reason, but I'm not going to tell you. Anyway, those young men, we used to have a morning side and an evening side every night. And it included a short message and talk about God and a relationship with Him, and a message about God. I hope that, where's our senior patrol leaders? Can I see? Okay, we got one here. I hope that as you plan your camps, that you plan that there's going to be a morning side and or an evening side every day, and you assign these young men to share messages out of the enzyme, or the friend, or the new era, or something that they've just been studying, or a duty to God requirement that they're working on, related to, all those different topics. I hope that happens at every camp. Will you do that for me? Okay, good. All right.
With my scout leader, he does either a Scoutmaster minute each night, or or we read scriptures.
Great. And I would hope that you would maybe, before he does the Scoutmaster minutes, make sure that part of that is that you young men keep one another. That discussion I had with those benchers, as it turned out, the one taught the lesson, it took him 15 minutes. Everybody was riveted. In the camp that I remember, we then stood around the fire talking about spiritual things for the next hour and a half. And finally said, guys, you can keep talking. I trust you, which I did. I said, but I've got to go to bed because I'm not going to make it tomorrow. We're going to do a bike ride, and a long bike ride at that. And I said, I'm sorry. I've got to go to bed. But if that gives you some ideas, make that a very important part of your group. Okay, over here.
Did scouting ever bless your life?
Did it ever bless my life?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I wouldn't be here tonight if I hadn't had scouting experiences and those friends. I wouldn't marry who I married. I wouldn't have the 6 wonderful kids that I have. I wouldn't have the job that I have. And that comes back to those relationships and those values that were developed in scouting and in my corps. Does that make sense? And if I stopped and said, where would I be? Well, I don't know. Maybe I'd be in some bar somewhere doing who knows what. But I made good choices back when I was your age. Not all the good choices I could have, because, again, I don't have that knot that I wished I did. Actually, 2 knots. And I will never be able to get them. But I learned a lot. And it makes a difference. Great question. Others?
It's how many?
Participating, and I was in corn presidencies and youth scout leader as well. One day he said, Mike, you've met all the requirements. And I said, met all the requirements for what? He said, well, for your youth duty job. And I was still pleased, because he then pulled out the book and showed me how he can keep track of it in our discussions and talk. So that's really my fault, so be more proactive than that. Does that make sense? Okay.
I'm going to have to interrupt.
Oh, good. Okay. You heard the questions.
Well, the ones I was in the room for, yes. You know what? I'm thinking these two had excellent questions. I think they can split that, right?
Okay.
Okay. Chandler and Hayden, you guys had good questions. Can you two split that one?
Okay.
Now let's see. Quinn, did Brian? I think you had your hand ready. Did he ask a good question?
There's a couple over there.
All right, you two split that one.
Does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
Serve up like Christelle. You're all going to get 12 or more inches.
And remember, you can share too.
Thank you.